There is a YouTuber, her channel name's Sniper Wolf. She has been on YouTube for a very long time. Pretty significant following. I don't remember how many subscribers, but I believe it's more than 10 million. I could be wrong on that. It's a big channel. There's a lot of controversy about her content that she creates, and another YouTuber called her out about her content because she does a lot of reacts content. And a lot of people say it's very lazy reacts content where she'll just like roll people's content and then she doesn't really react, but then she posts the video. She's in it, but she's not really reacting, but she's just getting views on these other people's videos because she's in it.
She's so famous.
Right. And so this other YouTuber called her out, even made a parody channel about her. She ended up doxing this other YouTuber. She went to his house. She was like posting stories on Instagram outside of his house. It made it so that people ended up knowing where he lived. That's very problematic. Like that's a pretty scary situation to be in, especially because she has such a big following. And there are crazy people out there. YouTube, I believe, removed monetization on one of her videos. But according to YouTube's terms of service or terms of use, it says any behavior like that on or off platform would get your channel essentially taken off YouTube. But all YouTube did was demonetize one of her videos for like a week. And then it was back up. Channel's running like normal. She's still on YouTube.
Very little consequences for a very bold, dangerous action. Welcome back to Creator Files. So we wanted to talk about ethics on YouTube because lately there's some new things going on, but in a way they're not all that new because we've kind of seen YouTube do things like this before. So let's talk about the new feature first. It's called Creator Notes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm looking at the YouTube official blog right here. And there's some very interesting information here that I just want to talk through. I don't know. I'm like halfway concerned, halfway not really surprised. So here's what it says. Starting today, this was written on June 17, 2024, by the way. Okay. Starting today, we are testing an experimental feature to allow people to add notes to provide relevant, timely, and easy to understand context on videos. So basically what it looks like right now, I think it's still either very new or beta. It's still sort of a pilot program. So basically there will be a limited number of people who can become true contributors. So basically what that means is they can watch a video and then contribute a note, some sort of clarifying note. The example that YouTube gave was if they knew that it was old footage versus new footage, they could clarify and say, well, actually this video was taken 6 years ago and it was presented like it was taken, in the last 6 months or whatever. Okay. That's fine.
This is not a feature that is intended to be used by the creator that published the video at all.
It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't sound like it. Maybe later on it could be used that way if they became a contributor. I don't know if you'd be allowed to contribute on your own channel. That's unspecified at the time. So basically, you can contribute a note saying whatever you want, I guess.
And almost like you're able to add to the description of somebody else's video.
Right. Okay. But then it will be looked at by YouTube's third-party evaluators and then sort of ranked or rated, they say. So basically it says the notes will appear under the video, and if they are found to be broadly helpful, air quotes, by the people rating the notes, then they will appear under the video. So it's almost like a popularity contest sort of thing. It's like if a lot of people find the note helpful, or if it expresses something that a lot of people find to be true or something, then it'll get upvoted essentially, and that's what's going to show. So I think potentially a lot of people could leave notes under the video, but only the ones that get upvoted by whoever's doing the rating, those are the ones that are going to show.
I feel like I've heard of this before. It sounds like comments.
Right. It does sort of sound like that. I guess this is supposed to just be, I know you're joking there, but you're right. I think this is just supposed to be more standout and prominent, like directly under the video potentially. Twitter, X, they do this. They add, I don't know what they call them, but basically it's sort of fact checking whatever is posted. A lot of times there's very specific posts that end up getting fact checked. So yeah,
and a difference
that's the feature
between comments and this is it sounds like YouTube also has the ability to have their own people contributing to which of these get put to the top or verified, or who knows how they're going to do it.
I don't think it is necessarily, at least at this point, not audience driven. It's more third-party contributor.
Oh, so the contributors are voting it up or down.
I think at this point the contributors aren't. Right now there's this third-party group of people who are going to be doing that, but apparently that's training a system that might be doing it later on.
Okay, so not other viewers at all.
It doesn't sound like it as of right now.
Okay.
Unless those other viewers are selected by YouTube.
Unless they became
the raters. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
There's a creator, Scott, his channel's Graffiti. He did a video on this earlier talking about some of the implications of this. This is actually funny because I didn't actually watch his video. I haven't even watched all of it yet, but we've just been talking around the office here about some of these, I don't know, questionable things that are going on. And this happens to sort of fit right into this whole discussion. And in Scott's video, he talks about these community notes and how basically they're going to most likely turn into some amount of fact checking for videos, which is funny because that's not how YouTube really is marketing it at this point, but that's the most likely scenario. It's on content that may be considered questionable, not mainstream. Those are the types of things that are going to end up getting noted, I guess.
Yeah. How do you think this will go over before we give our opinion on it? How do you think it'll go over with the broader audience and creators?
I think most people will be fine.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't think that this is going to impact most creators very, very much. Part of the reason I think that is on Twitter, they have these community notes show up under posts that are considered controversial or maybe not true or whatever. And those posts still get shared around, right? They still typically get a lot of attention, and some of them even get more attention because they've been sort of flagged or fact checked. So honestly, I think for the majority of creators, this specific feature isn't going to, I don't know, it's just probably not going to be that big of a deal. However, there are some channels who tend to be in those more, I don't know, I don't want to call them fringe because sometimes for most people it's just what they think or believe or do. So a couple of examples we talked about is like traditional medicine. Probably a lot of people in the political sphere, maybe anyone talking about firearms or shooting sports. Those are all topics or channel types that I think this could impact that type of person or that type of channel. Just because
just less common.
Yeah, just less common stuff, potentially more controversial. And so I think those people will have the largest impact because it's likely that whatever they say in their video is not going to match what the note says.
Yeah.
Which could lead to some frustration. What is this going to mean? Like, if the note, like, I don't know, how negative does the note have to be? Like, if the note comes out and says, basically, this video is lying to you, it's not true, like, does your video get demonetized? What's the next step here, I guess? And the answer is, I don't know.
This is wild. I think that viewers are not going to love this because I still see people commenting about how they used to have certain health labels on videos, and people just didn't like that. I think some people I'm sure did, but a lot of people don't like feeling controlled or feeling like they're being told how to think or YouTube is regulating things. And with this, it's, if they start applying it pretty widely, almost everyone is going to have something that they agree with that's going to end up getting labeled at some point, whether it's guns or non-traditional medicine or like, I imagine most people are going to be on the fringes of some topic and then, maybe not making content about it, but watching content about it. And then when they see that label on their videos, especially if they've seen that label on other videos that were really, maybe kind of scammy or a lot of fake info, then I think people aren't going to like it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I've never noticed really. Like if I see something, honestly, okay, I don't know if you're on Instagram much. Sometimes there will be like a reel or a post. It'll blur it out and say, "Do you really want to see this?" It's sort of, I don't want to say censoring, but it's like saying this could contain graphic whatever, and it puts that over the top, sort of this filter, so that you don't have to see it. Like if you're just randomly scrolling, it's saying we don't want you to just randomly scroll past this because it could be disturbing. But if you want to see it, click here. When I come across those, I have to click. I don't know. There's something about it where it's just like this curiosity.
Now I need to know.
Now I need to know what's behind the filter. It's like unlock this content, even though it may be something you don't want to see. So I kind of wonder if it'll have that effect for some topics. I think you're right. I think some people might be frustrated, especially if the notes are saying something they don't agree with or whatever.
it won't necessarily hurt YouTube just because people are upset about it.
Right.
They might even engage more
That
and
is
then or
possible.
comment and say, "Why is this labeled with a warning?
Yep.
This is safer than traditional medicine," or
Right.
however it's gonna go.
Right. Well, and like even a discussion like this that we're having right now on this podcast, we're talking about things like traditional medicine, firearms. Like,
Yes.
could this podcast end up with a note on it because we talked about those topics?
Probably.
It could. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, we're not going into depth on any of these things, but if you say the phrase like traditional medicine or natural healing works better than traditional medicine, like, could that get us
Taken out of context.
right? Taken
yeah.
out of context, could that end up getting us a note on this a YouTube focused podcast?
Oh man.
I don't know. We'll just have to see. Just an example that contributes to a more overarching theme that we're seeing on YouTube, where they are sort of the judge and the jury, right? For all creators, anything that happens on their platform, they get to decide what goes on, right? They have their policies, they have their terms of use and terms of service. And at the end of the day, they get to do whatever they want with your channel. They can demonetize your videos. They can take your channel down altogether. We've seen quite a few
Let's talk about
situations.
that.
Yeah. Okay. The first one, this one happened probably within the last year. I don't remember the exact time. There is a YouTuber her channel name's Sniper Wolf. And she has been on YouTube for a very long time. Pretty significant following. I don't remember how many subscribers, but I believe it's more than 10 million. I could be wrong on that. It's a big channel. There's a lot of controversy about her content that she creates, and another YouTuber called her out about her content because she does a lot of reacts content. And a lot of people say it's very lazy reacts content, where she'll just like roll people's content and then she doesn't really react, but then she posts the video. She's in it, but she's not really reacting, but she's just getting views on these other people's videos because she's in it.
She's so famous.
Right. And so this other YouTuber called her out and has been calling her out and even made a parody channel about her. Anyway, she ended up doxing this other YouTuber. She went to his house.
Doxing.
And I believe it was on Instagram, maybe. She was like posting stories on Instagram outside of his house. And it made it so that people ended up knowing where he lived. And that's very problematic. Like, that's a pretty scary situation to be in, especially because she has such a big following. And there are crazy people out there. Long story short, YouTube, I believe, limited or removed monetization on one of her videos. But according to YouTube's terms of service or terms of use, it says any behavior like that on or off platform would get your channel essentially taken off YouTube. But all YouTube did was demonetize one of her videos for like a week, and then it was back up. Channel's running like normal. She's still on YouTube. Okay.
Very little consequences for
Very
a very
little.
bold, dangerous
Yeah.
action.
So YouTube has decided in this case what to do about her channel, even though it's going against what their own policies say. And in this case, like you said, very little consequence, but that was a potentially life-threatening situation. And to be honest, it still could be to this day. I'm sure whoever the creator that got doxxed is probably still living with some of the ramifications that happened, at the time when she did that. So
I don't think a lot of people maybe realize how fan crazy people get on YouTube. Like even with moderately sized creators, let alone one as big as Sniper Wolf.
Yep.
There are crazy people.
Yep.
There really are that would do something crazy just because somebody made a little parody video. Like,
Right.
it might sound like no big deal, but it really is. Almost everyone that has any amount of fame on YouTube has some stalkers and some people that are obsessed with them, and it's not good.
Yeah. So in this case, it feels like to me YouTube didn't do enough. And it's very kind of funny, interesting at least, on some of YouTube's channels where they post, updates and product feature releases, that sort of thing. There are people still in the comments months and months and months and months later saying, get Sniper Wolf off, take her off. Like, there are still people really upset about this because they know YouTube didn't do enough. Now, why? Is it because she's been on YouTube for a long time? Is it because she gets a lot of views? She generates a lot of revenue? I don't know. It's hard to say. Those all kind of make sense to me, but we really don't know. We can just sort of speculate why they wouldn't take more action there.
I imagine it's either money or popular opinion. They think
Right.
either, they want the money from her monetized videos, or it's because they're afraid that more people will be upset with YouTube if they kicked her off.
Which is totally possible.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, their policies say they should have kicked her off.
Pretty black and white.
It's pretty black and white. Like, she messed up,
Yeah.
And at very least, maybe it's like, get rid of her channel, but maybe she could start a new one. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's
Something
tough.
more than demonetizing.
I realize that, like, that's her livelihood at stake there. And that's a big problem. That's her job. That's how she's making her money. And that could have some severe implications. I understand that, but she broke the rules. Another scenario that's happening right now, which is pretty outrageous. There's a YouTuber, Dr. Disrespect. He is a streamer, does gaming. A little bit of backstory on him. I think it was 2018 timeline. He was on Twitch. He had a deal with Twitch. It was found out that he was texting a minor on their platform through their messaging system. And basically Twitch ended their contract with him, kicked him off the platform, but they ended up paying him out his entire contract. There was no legal things that went on. Nothing ever happened that way. So you'd imagine maybe there was nothing illegal. Maybe it was wrong what he did, but it was nothing illegal.
And he claimed nothing illegal, correct?
Claimed nothing illegal happened. So years later, 2020, he started a YouTube channel and gained quite a bit of popularity on YouTube. The whole thing about him texting the minor just came out now in 2024. And basically, it's all blowing up, right? This is a big deal. But YouTube decided to kick him off YouTube, essentially. I don't know if they removed all his videos or just demonetized all of his videos. But YouTube decided that they are going to remove a creator, or at least the monetization, based on something he did years before he ever joined the platform, without any solid evidence of him actually doing the thing. Now, he did admit that he was talking to a minor. He did admit that himself, and he said that sometimes the conversations leaned to inappropriate. But he said there was nothing ever illegal that happened. So he messed up, and he claims that. But he said there was nothing illegal. So the question is, should YouTube have kicked him off, or should they have not? I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough question because YouTube gets to decide. It's their platform. But what he did was before he was ever a YouTuber. And as far as we all know, nothing illegal happened. So YouTube got to decide what to do. And I don't know. It just feels like they get to play fast and loose. They get to do whatever they want, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. And I'm not siding with the YouTuber in this case because I don't really know. Morally, if he's doing wrong things and talking to kids, he shouldn't be doing that. Of course, kick him off, get rid of him. But it feels like YouTube has a lot of power. And maybe that's the whole conversation here is that scares me a little bit.
Right. We're not talking about somebody who convicted of something.
Right.
It was, you said one person leaked this from Twitch. So really taking one person's word for what exactly happened aside from what he loosely admitted to. So yeah, it's pretty wild. And it's important to recognize that they really can do whatever they want, whether that's following their own terms and conditions or ignoring their own terms and conditions or kicking you off even if you didn't violate their terms and conditions. Because I don't see how what's Dr. Disrespect could have done that would have violated their conditions since he wasn't on YouTube yet.
Right.
And he didn't do anything illegal.
Yep. And since then, there hasn't been anything since he joined the platform.
Yeah. So,
oh man.
They can just really do whatever they want, which is a debate in itself of should a private company be able to do whatever they want or not. But if they can refuse service to anybody and clearly have demonstrated that they will, it's really important to recognize that. And I think that the obvious solution is to diversify as much as possible. Yeah. So we're going to talk about YouTube has their own kind of like membership now, kind of like Patreon.
Yeah, like a channel membership. You can have people pay on YouTube to watch exclusive content.
Right. Which I think things are going to start going that way away from Patreon because YouTube's going to promote it and make it more obvious. And who knows, they might even have things with the algorithm that help if you are doing that versus Patreon in your description. But that's dangerous. I would think it would be a lot safer. I mean, I think it's objectively a lot safer to have have a Patreon or be on other platforms and have other ways of reaching your audience like email lists or social media, something so that if you're kicked off YouTube for a reasonable reason or a bad reason, you still have something. Yeah. It's scary.
It is really scary. So these three, I guess, scenarios. One, YouTube can put notes pretty much saying whatever they want, regardless of if it's what you believe or what you don't believe. They might not kick you off, or they might not kick creators off who need to be kicked off, or they might kick creators off that they don't have evidence that they need to be kicked off. So these are just three, I think, pretty good examples that YouTube has the power to do whatever they want. And it's their company. They can at this point, at this point in time, that is the law, essentially, unless someone came, I guess, and sued them for it, which might happen. But like you said, I think diversification is the key here. And to me, the whole conversation is less about each individual scenario. Like, yeah, a little bit scary, it's hard to know what's right and what's wrong. But at the end of the day, we need to realize that as creators, these are our businesses. And it would be like having a business with only one client, right? And if that client leaves, your business is done. Or if they decide they don't want to work with you anymore, like that's the equivalent here. Like if I'm a lawn mowing company and I have one lawn that I mow and they pay me $10 million a year, that's great. I have a big business. But what if they're done with me?
Exactly.
Then the business is over. Whereas if I could diversify to 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 or 50 lawns, then all of a sudden I'm way more protected, because if I lose 5, great. I have time to go find 5 more. And I think that's what Patreon can do for you. If you have consulting services, if you have a website, if you have course material, anything that you can do off platform, an email list, a texting list, if you sell merch on your own website or whatever, all of those things are going to protect you from YouTube, which is kind of sad and funny and just reality. YouTube is not yours. Your channel is not yours. You're building on somebody else's platform, and it's a blessing. I think YouTube is amazing for so many reasons. They brought such a huge audience into one place where we can find the people who want to follow us. But at the end of the day, YouTube owns those people.
Right.
We do not.
It's as if you're a contractor
Yep.
for one company, and they get you all their business, and maybe they can even get you added business to your own more private things if you know how to funnel that traffic. But you have to do that and not rely too much on this one company you're contracting for. Another thing, real quick, that I feel like is another vote in favor of spread out where you're going is money aside, even if you're not monetized yet, it's a little scary that YouTube is really the only big platform that does what they do right now. And that is how people get the word out now. Yep. It's almost as if the press was a monopoly, 50 years ago. If the press had been a complete monopoly 50 years ago, and then that's scary, and then they can do whatever they want. I mean, I understand a pirate company does get to do whatever they want, and I'm not necessarily opposed to that, especially because people are contributing to their platform. It's not just who they're serving, it's who's contributing to their thing. So sure, but I think it's really important to take the power back as much as we can and be on other platforms. Now, I'll admit, I don't like most of the other platforms either for other reasons, but it's just a little scary that they have so much power that whatever they decide to agree with is going to have such a voice where it can reach millions of people very easily, and the opinions they disagree with will have very little voice because, who reads blogs anymore? Some people still read blogs more often when they're looking for specific information.
Yep.
Maybe not so much to follow a specific person, right? So that's dangerous.
Yep.
And it's scary, but
it is. Yeah. YouTube is a great marketing platform to get people to your other stuff.
Right.
And while it's working great, you should be working like crazy to get people to your other stuff. Maybe it's a podcast off platform. Maybe it's any other things that we just mentioned, but get people to other places, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, maybe TikTok. TikTok's another great example of, not diversifying. Right now we're dealing with a potential TikTok ban. Who really knows if it's going to happen or when? But for TikTok creators, if they aren't diversifying, or if they don't diversify, if TikTok goes down, particularly here in the US, that could be problematic. You lose your following. But if you diversify, you're just safer. Even if your YouTube audience is 100,000 people and your Instagram following is 50, okay, great. But if you have 50,000 people left on the platform, that at least gives you somewhere to start.
Yeah, even if you're just protecting your current audience too. Because maybe you don't want to get involved in trying to maintain 5 social media accounts. That's fine. I understand that. But you can protect your current audience. There's plenty of people I find on YouTube like their content, find their website and join their email list and revisit their website to read their blogs because I got to know them on YouTube and, stay in touch with them. So I would still be aware if they got kicked off YouTube. They would find a way to reach me and I would find out about it and I would still support them and maybe we would listen to their podcast or whatever. Right. So it doesn't have to be social media. You don't necessarily have to be trying to grow your audience with these other things because it hasn't happened yet, right? If you're doing well on YouTube and nothing's interfered with that yet. I think it's just important to have a way to protect what you already have built so that later, if you want to grow in another area, you can. Or sure, grow on other social media right now. That's great too. But I just don't want to make it sound like that's the only option if that's overwhelming to people.
Right. And it is like putting work and content into multiple platforms is a huge endeavor, especially if you're just doing this solo. Like it's tough, but I like that. I like just having a little bit of that protection just in case something happens. You know, there was a channel that I follow. I actually followed on Instagram before I followed on YouTube, but their channel ended up being taken over by hackers. Their YouTube channel was taken over, hacked into, and all the videos were taken down. I think they were unlisted or privated, but then they locked this creator out of the back end of YouTube. So to him, it looked like all the videos had been deleted.
Whoa.
And he had, I don't know, 300 or 400, 500,000 subscribers at the time. And I remember him posting on Instagram, like hysterical that he had lost his channel. You know, luckily he did have an Instagram audience, but you know, it taken years and years and years to grow this. Like, even if it's not just protecting yourself from YouTube, like there are other factors out there that could lead to you losing your audience. And so, you know, for any reason, just be thinking about that. You know, we need to be thinking about what we're creating as a business and preparing for anything to happen.
Yeah, that could be devastating. And having backups of your videos.
Yes.
Just be prepared. Yeah, scary stuff. Okay, well, we're going to keep you guys updated on anything that we hear about this feature because it's definitely in early stages that we don't have any kind of access to it right now. But we'll keep you updated on what we think.
Yeah. And if any of you guys know anything about any other these other situations on YouTube, if we missed anything, if you know any other information, I would be very curious to hear about that too. Anything happening in the creator economy, I'm very curious about all this stuff. So I'd love to have that conversation with anyone in the comments. So throw them in there. And
if you haven't yet, check out we have a Creator Files episode where we talk about the YouTube A/B thumbnail tester. We got some juicy info on that and a more concise video on channel makers about how it's actually maybe broke. So that's interesting. Check that out next. See ya, guys.
See ya.